This is in the settings, basically. If you go into your chats, I'm not going to show you my chats because that's private, but in the settings, which are called business settings, in the bottom right-hand corner, what you'll see is something called business tools. And that's where you want to start with WhatsApp Business. In particular, if you're looking at the business profile. So for example, below, so you've got the business profile, ignore the catalog, messaging tools, that's where you'll have your away messages, greeting messages, quick replies, and things like that. And then near the bottom, a number of other things that are, these are again, related for business. This wasn't created for nonprofits in particular. So things like the catalog, you could theoretically add information about some of your courses at your organization. So I kind of quickly just put in a little bit about, training, but no one's going to add it to their cart. So it might get confusing, but there's information that you can actually add about the services that your organization provides or that you as an individual provide in the catalog, if you will. And if those things have unique addresses, for example, you can see here that you can add a description and you can add a link for people to go to. So perhaps it's a link on a deeper link on your website that is about, settlement services or language services or whatever the case might be. So you can actually add catalogs of information. But the business profile is really where you want to spend your time. So this is where your phone number will be there automatically. You can add a description about you, or again, it's called a business description. You can make this as long or as short as you want. The business hours are what's really important when it comes to the away message, because that's what's going to define when people will get your auto message when you're out of the office. So so I've defined mine for Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. Those are my open hours, basically. You can add a physical address here if you want to. And you can set a location on a map for people to find. You can add website information. And then in the categories, I put professional services, but as you'll see here, nonprofit organization is one of those as well. You can also set a little about message if you're busy when people message you and things like that. So again, setting those hours is something that's really important as it relates to the out of office reply. And that is your away message here. So in the away message, it's automatically turned off, but once you turn it on, you can then set a schedule. So you can set it to outside of those business hours. You can set it to send an automated message at all times, or you can customize a schedule. The custom schedule in particular is useful when you're going on vacation, for example. So if you know you're going to be away from a set period of time, you can set that in this as a custom schedule and set your away message to be very specific about that. You can also choose who to send this to. So you can exclude your contacts, for example, with your auto reply messages, or you can send it to everyone. And the last two go into your contacts, everyone except, and you can deselect people in your contacts, or you can when it's only sent to, you can select only specific contacts who these messages get sent to. Typically, you're probably going to have it sent to everyone. Including those in your contacts, because you want clients who are already in a relationship with you to get that auto reply message as well. And then you can set your message. So you can make this again as complex as you want. If it's out of office message, so I think we talked about this last time and in other conversations I've had with folks, you might want to add information here, for example, like we're not available. These are our typical office hours. If you're messaging outside of office and there's something urgent, you can call 311, 411, 211, 911, and give information about what each of those services are and why they might want to call it, depending on the severity of the emergency or the case. You can also include in here when you'll get back to them, right? We talked about boundaries and policies and things like that. So you can include here, I will reply, I will see your message when in my next tomorrow or the next business day, whatever the languages you want to use, and I will reply to you within 15, 24, 48 hours, whatever your organization wants to have. So you can have as much information there that helps to reiterate to your clients and to people contacting you information you probably would have given to them during the intake, during the assessment, to let them know about how you're going to communicate with them. So it's an opportunity in your out of office hours to kind of remind people when you're available and when you'll get back to them, basically. So that's, and then the greeting message is also something that might be of interest. So you can, again, set this for people when they message you for the first time or after 14 days of no activity. And you can set it for everyone. You can exclude your contacts. So in this case, you can set it to people who aren't in your contacts, because maybe you only want to send a greeting message to someone who's contacting you for the first time, for example. And then once again, you have a message here. Hey, thanks for contacting me. Here's information about me, about my services, about when I'm available, about when I'll get back to you. Again, it's another opportunity to be, to greet them, to give them some information about when you're available, what kind of services you provide. This may be a cold contact. Maybe someone referred them to you, or they found your number on your organization's website and they sent you a WhatsApp message. So think of this as an opportunity to basically say, here's what the next step is for them to take. Perhaps it's a link to your online intake form if you have one eventually. Perhaps it's a link to your central phone number to say, before we can connect, you need to do an intake with our admin person, whatever the case might be. But again, for someone who's contacting you for the first time, you can automatically have this kind of greeting message for them. The other thing that business has is these things called quick replies. So we send a lot of similar kinds of messages back, kind of form messages or rote messages. And so what this allows you to do is to create something that all you have to do is that / and a word. So in this case, I created a thanks, so that if I typically want to say thank you for your business, we look forward to working. If I want to retype that all the time, all I have to do in the chat is hit /thanks, and it sends this information. So you can add as many of these keywords as you want and include additional messages, for example. So if you get inquiries about things that are fairly typical, and you want to basically send a quick reply to someone, they say, oh, what are your language services? Okay, so /language, and you've got a paragraph or two, maybe with a link to your website, of information about that. And you don't have to keep typing or tapping out the message every single time, basically. So quick replies can be quite useful as well, but those are manual, right? Those are you actually putting that into the chat. It's not an auto reply. It's just like a shortcut for you to be able to send a lot of text without having to retype or copy and paste that text again. So those are the really kind of big pieces for WhatsApp Business. The other question that people ask were about broadcast lists. So in the chats is where you can see broadcast lists and new groups. So if you went to the broadcast list, you can create one right here. Now you can't do that on the web, the WhatsApp web interface. You can create new groups there. I'm not sure why they don't have that, but this is where you would need to actually create any kind of broadcast list. And for people who aren't sure the difference between a broadcast list and a group is where people are interacting back and forth, and people see each other's information. So if I'm in a group with you, I actually will be able to see your name and your phone number, because that's your identity on WhatsApp. In a broadcast list, it's like an email that's been sent by blind carbon copy. No one else will see that. And when people reply, they'll only be replying to you. They won't be replying to the group. So again, for privacy concerns, sometimes a broadcast list is better, but also sometimes you just want to broadcast out information and have one-on-one interactions back. So for those of you who are using groups, you may also be using broadcast lists for different purposes, or you might want to switch some interactions to broadcast lists. In particular, when you don't want people sharing their personal information. That's an overview of WhatsApp for Business.